All right. Hello, happy campers. Spike.
Hello, Chris.
Show. Well, from Stuffaluppagus over here, going down Sesame Street, just giving the germs to everyone he meets.
I am not. I've been washing my hands, sanitizing, and making
You've
sure.
been huffing sanitizer is what you've been doing.
Anyway, huffing sanitizer,
yes. Yeah, happy campers. It is a glorious day. It is wet. It is rainy. It is cold. It is actually the 21st day of November 2021 as we do this. And boy, life is good, Chris. You know why, Chris? Why would life be good for us today, Chris?
Is it because somebody answered our childhood prayers and said, "Hey, we're going to make your inner childhood happy again"? Is that what it is?
No, it's because we both had the Kentucky crud with upper respiratory infections. Yes, Chris, because Ghostbusters Afterlife finally released after a long, long time. And this is our review episode. In fact, we're going to be talking Ghostbusters through most of this episode. And we're going to start off giving a review. Now, like I said, Chris here is Stuffaluppagus today because he don't know if he's got the allergies, the coof, if he's just got the raging sniffles, or what he's got. But
look, the rest of me works fine. It's just the neck up that isn't.
Hey, admitting it is the first step. Now, yeah. See, this is why we need to go back to videos sometime.
Okay.
Just for double takes like that. Everybody loves the double takes. Anyway. Yes. What?
No, I just thought that was the video that
I was no, that's not the video. That's just... I'm keeping my computer handy just in case we need to do some research. But anyway. So, who wants to do this review of Ghostbusters Afterlife? Chris, you are the movie reviewer here. You're the movie geek. You're the one in charge of the Facebook group.
So we want to talk about each one and then get to this one, or we just want to...
Heck no, let's start with the good one. We'll start with Afterlife here. Do the review of Afterlife and then we'll talk about Ghostbusters past, present, and future, because I think there's some interesting news down the street here. But
alright, so here's my review. Hi everybody, this is Chris Manier coming from our studio, and I just gotta say, is Ghostbusters Afterlife good? It is very good! There.
Yeah, that.
I have my issues with it are very, 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 very small. And the only issues I have with this movie is Muncher is replacing Slimer.
I'm good with that.
I'm not. There is a moment where, we do get to see the spirit of Harold Ramis. I loved it, but they lingered it too long. It was one of those things where I have mixed feelings about. And some of the ghosts were a little weird. There's an eyeball creature in this that I have no idea where that came from except for the cartoons. Actually, I'm pretty sure there is a character in the cartoons that is like that. Other than that, that's pretty much all I have. The movie is really, really good. The cast is really, really good. I had so much fun. It really, scratched the itch. It gave me a big warm hug and said, everything's going to be okay. And I was like, thank you. It did its job. I loved it. I will probably see it a dozen more times. It will be added to my Ghostbusters collection as soon as it hits DVD. So yes. Oh, I forgot to do that. I am so sorry. Turn off phone. I apologize on that one. My bad. I dropped the ball.
Go ahead.
Wait, what?
That's Peter Aykroyd.
Oh.
He's the younger brother of Dan Aykroyd. Peter Aykroyd passed away. He was born in 55, so that would have made him, 66? Thereabouts. Anyway. So, getting back to the review.
Oh,
Oh, the show.
I got one more problem.
Yes, one more problem with the movie. Yes.
Okay, so spoilers alert. Okay, look, the original Ghostbusters are back. Okay, they do show up in this movie, but again, they showed up later. I kind of wished, and I had this all thought out great. As soon as they were called, about like maybe 45 minutes into the movie, as soon as they were called, they should have showed up then, and should have had more screen time with them. But that's the only it's a small thing. I still enjoyed it. Also, make sure there are 2 end credit scenes. Okay, make sure you stay through the whole movie.
Okay. So, let's just go ahead. I'm going to go straight to our count to 5 thing. Now, we give things 5 points. On a scale of 5 points.
5. Sorry.
5 points, you would pay full price for a Saturday night evening with a date. 4, you would watch the afternoon matinee. 3, you might wait for it to come out on DVD. 2, you would watch it on Netflix. And 1 is Pluto, maybe, if it's free and you trip over it. So you would give it a 5. And
5. I'll give it a 10.
ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to pronounce this is, I believe, the first movie we've ever reviewed. I'm giving 5. This was an absolute home run. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm just going to call it. This is better than the original. I like Ghostbusters Afterlife better than the original. We'll get into the reasons why here in a little bit. But you got anything else to add on your review of Ghostbusters Afterlife?
Other than how good it was, without spoiling anything, it was good.
They're hearing me type notes to myself. So, Chris, I think, is going to be laying out on this episode a little bit because he's kind of the snifflies are getting.
My head is very congested, so my mind is really blah right now.
And if it actually sounds like we're extra echoey in this recording today, it's because we're on opposite sides of the room trying not to give each other head colds anymore. Sure. But you can already hear me. It's November. That in Kentucky, that means the Kentucky crud is afoot. And I think the Kentucky crud is actually a little angry at me because I went through and hosed down the side of the house and killed all the mold that was growing. There's mold that grows on the north side of every log, fence row, house, car, cat that's not moving too fast. So, killing all that, this is probably its revenge. But anyway, let's get back to the review. 5 out of 5, absolutely worth it. Spike says it's better than the original. So, I'm probably one of the few who will say that. But I think what I'm hearing online is just about everybody except for the professional critics who are still pissed off about 2016. But we'll talk about that here in a minute. We'll talk about Answer the Call here in a little bit. But anyway, most people are saying it's up there with the original. So nobody's saying this is the worst movie except for the fanboys of the film version. But anyway, so let's start talking here about some of what's going on around this, because this, like I said, this entire episode's about Ghostbusters Afterlife, because we have been waiting a very, 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 very long time for this. Dan Aykroyd, bless his heart, has been trying for years to get this off the ground. And I'm just going to come right out and say it. We'll talk about this too. But Bill Murray has got to be the most overrated, overpaid, overhyped comedian, quote unquote, in Hollywood. Because I just do not like the guy. Maybe it's just too much. I've got too much snark and he's got too much snark for us to mutually coexist. But seriously, F that guy. I'm not as big a fan of Bill Murray. I did like seeing him getting, spoiler alert, one of the end credit scenes is Sigourney Weaver shocking his butt with the same thing he used back in the first movie. And there are a lot of callbacks to the first movie in this
Yes, a lot.
one. If you looked in the house, now there's going to be spoilers throughout. We're not even going to hide the spoilers. So if you haven't seen it yet, just walk away here, okay?
I'll get home back on that one.
One of the things that you'll notice when you go into Egon's house, this is about his daughter and his 2 grandkids coming in and inheriting the house because Egon's dead. Spoiler alert. All the books are stacked one on top of the other. They're stacked horizontally, not vertically. Every other library in the known universe stacks them vertically, so that way you don't have to move a bunch of books to get to the one you want. If you remember back in the first Ghostbusters, the ghost in the library was stacking all the books vertically, vertically. No. Horizontally. Sorry, I'm keeping straight. They're all laid out horizontally on top of each other instead of side by side. And that was one of the old ways of stacking books in libraries because they just didn't have that much space for shelving and stuff like that at the time. So, and when you only have about 100 books, you can get away with that. When you have about 1,000,000 books, you can't. So, nice little callback there. Like I said, callbacks throughout. Gotta admit, at the end, they did a good scene with Egon and Harold Ramis basically being aged up. I'm guessing that they did get some footage of him beforehand. But
The guy's named something Cooper.
okay, they had a stand-in.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honestly, he looks just
He does
like...
look dead like it. I couldn't tell if that was...
Somebody showed me a picture of him, and I'm like, holy shit.
I couldn't tell if it was... if they did a stand-in, or if it was old footage, or if it was just that CGI stuff. Because if it was CGI, they really got past the uncanny valley on that one. So I was kind of surprised at that one.
The last movie I saw him in, when he had like gray hair, was a movie called As Good as It Gets, with Jack Nicholson. But that was the last movie I've ever seen him in, period. And that movie came out in like 97? 96, 97?
Something like that. Harold was never as active as everybody else, but the oh, shut up. Go away. Okay, fuck you, LA Times. Anyway, sorry about the language there, folks. But oh, by the way, adult alert. We're gonna be squeaking obscenities off and on today. Anyway, whatever the dude's name is, I do agree that one lingered a little bit, although there was an awful lot of emotional baggage that had to be unpacked there. Yeah. Should have been more time between Egon and his daughter, but it was nice to see him backing up his granddaughter's play.
You know, I actually thought that it would have been better if, okay, so again, spoilers alert, he's been haunting the house. So he's been like showing his grandkids and his daughter, you know, like, hey, here's look over here and stuff like that. And they know that it's him. But I thought, wouldn't it be cool if Slimer also haunted that house? And it was him and Slimer just like...
yeah, that would be nice.
I just thought that would be funny.
Actually, I was kind of expecting to see Slimer at one point or another.
I know, this is the first time we've never get to see Slimer. You get to see him in all the other movies.
If we do not see a bunch of Stay Puft Marshmallow Kid stuff all over everything this Christmas, then
I was surprised
we've got a new Mandalorian on our hands because the Disney really dropped the ball back there on the Mandalorian because they They didn't get the Baby Yoda merchandising set for season 1 and just missed out on a fortune there. Of course, Disney's been regretting that ever since. And they've certainly done a lot better with season 2. But I'm not really seeing... I'm seeing some Ghostbusters stuff, but I'm not seeing a lot of stuff with the Marshmallow Kids, which kind of surprises me. But, well... keep on missing each other with missed opportunities. Maybe we'll be out in time for the DVD. Who knows?
Maybe.
Got to get this one on DVD. I might actually get a Blu-ray player just so I can see this in high def, because I've been resisting switching to high def on my Blu-rays or buying Blu-rays and stuff, because all the videos I've got now are on DVD. I still have VHS. That's an in joke for the movie, by the way. But it's I may actually step up for this one, because that was pretty much worth the effort.
Definitely gonna buy it, and I hope they actually re-bring like the collector's edition and add that to it, because I so buy it. I so buy it.
Now, looking at the Rotten Tomatoes score on this, it's one of those things where it's the scores on this. The last I saw on the critic scores, and I'm getting ready to check this now. The last I saw of the critic scores on Ghostbusters had 61% from the critics. And it's still at 61%. The audience is at 96%. Let me tell you, on that 61% the critics are giving, about 30 points of that is Sour Grapes over Answer the Call, which came out in 2016. That was the name of it, right? Answer the Call? Ghostbusters Answer the Call in 2016. Everybody calls it Ghostbusters 2016, but whatever it is, the feminist version of it, it was a reboot, and it stunk on ice. This is something else I wanted to talk about here, because... Okay, when it comes to the critical projections, okay, there's a certain group of people in the media who wanted this movie to fail. They wanted this movie to land flat on its face. They wanted it to fail, because they wanted to say that the franchise was dead, and that's why 2016 failed so miserably. You still got apologists saying it did better than it did. So
feminists are the same.
It's the social justice types, but the usual suspects. And they were talking down the returns on this. The original things I saw, the original projections I saw, namely from like Variety and Deadline, had the initial opening weekend projections for this movie at $35 million for the weekend, for Thursday night into Sunday night. Projections had it about $30 million. It's going to more than double that, because as of yesterday as we record this, they were grudgingly, Deadline was grudgingly giving it $45 million. Now they've had to step that up this morning to $60 million, which means that's considered an overperformance by the movie. But honestly, I think it could go higher than that, because this is one of those watershed moments that gets people back into theaters once word gets out, because a trend I've been noticing for a while here. Sorry for rubbing my hands, but a trend I've noticed for a while here is, and I do it on this show, I will hang back and see, is it worth my money to go see this thing? Okay, now Ghostbusters Afterlife, I was sold on the trailer. Excellent trailer, by the way. They did a great job with promotion work on that. But I'm out here getting the word out. It is worth seeing. You should go out and spend the money. If you're still not so sure, go see the matinee. But absolutely go see this movie, because it's worth it. If you like films about family, if you like films about relation, if you like things about love and history and legacy and things like that, this movie hits on every single button, okay? This movie hits on another button too, and that's representation, okay? Contrast this film with 2016, which, whether people like it or not, all the critics are going to do this post-mortem online between this movie and the last movie.
You know, every time you mention that movie, an angel dies.
I couldn't give a rat's patoot. Anyway, so 16 and Afterlife, okay? We'll call it 16 and Afterlife. Look at the representation. Of course, in 16, you had 4 female Ghostbusters. Janine was now male and metrosexual, apparently. And everything was reversed. All It's all about how awesome women were and stuff, and it was just a sermon from start to finish. Now it does. I don't think it was as bad as the rep people are giving it. I still
No,
have
it was
not
bad.
seen the film, but I'm willing to give it. I'm willing to give it a shot. Hey, I have no problem judging films I haven't seen. No problem at all.
Okay, look. Here's the issue with 2016. Okay, Ghostbusters. One, the story, horrible. Second, the comedy did not fit the Ghostbuster style. Excuse me. Third, it was literally the live action Scooby Doo movie where all the ghosts glue in like this like vibrant colors. Look like glow in the dark stickers, basically. Horrible. Across the board, horrible. Just horrible. That's, I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, getting back to the point here, coffee McCoughs a lot. You want to go get some cough drops or something? I have some.
No, I'm good. Just
Anyway,
don't mind me. I'm in the corner.
he's going in the corner now. Anyway, the point about this is that the representation angle in 2016 was just overt and over your head and smash you with their oh so precious social justice message. If you look at the cast of this film, it is surprisingly female heavy. Okay? Your main character is a 12-year-old girl. Her mother, who's estranged from her father with daddy issues, and the 12-year-old's, 16-year-old older
15.
brother. He's 15 now. He'll be 16 in February, though.
Yeah.
But it's... but he's... the thing is, you've got this 12-year-old girl who is most likely on the autistic spectrum. She's like high-functioning Asperger's, if you ask me, just looking at her. Because she does have this kind of emotional detachment when there's a running gag where she tells bad jokes and people wind up laughing at them because she tells them so straightforward and earnestly, just like her grandfather Egon would have done, that everybody winds up giggling at it just because of the sheer absurdity of her trying to tell a joke. So the jokes are worthless, but the way she tells it, it'll get a chuckle out of you. But if out of sympathy, if nothing else. But anyway, you got representation there. One of the other four main characters, they're all kids, is, I'm guessing, a 16-year-old black girl. You've got the goth older brother of the 12-year-old. You've got single mom, like I said, with daddy issues. You've got a bunch of representation there. But they don't sit there and beat you over the head with the fact that this girl may be on the autistic spectrum. She just is who she is. She loves gadgets. She sits there and tinkers with everything. She's the one who starts figuring out this stuff. Turns out her older brother is really good with mechanical stuff too, so he refits the Ecto-1 and everything else. He's the one, spoiler alert, who eventually manages to set in motion the closing of the trap at the end of the movie. And all this stuff, and they... Oh, and let's not forget Podcast, the...
Ray of the group.
Whatever his name is. He's in there. So you got the Asian kid in there too, and you've got all this representation in there, and it doesn't frickin' matter it doesn't matter what they are, because they're too busy focused on who they are, developing their characters, developing the interplay, and developing these characters as people you would actually care about. Which is something that is sorely lacking in Hollywood now, because there are far too many virtues to be signaled for most of these so-called writers in Hollywood these days.
I just want to point out, Podcast in the movie is literally your Ray. And I will say this, okay? This kid, I cannot help but think of the Asian kid from Up. Looks just like him.
Yeah, it
Looks totally dead on like him.
Oh,
Actually, it probably was him. He probably did the voice for
That's
for
that's what I'm checking right now. His only credit so far is in he's Logan Kemp. The only credit I see on Rotten Tomatoes for him is Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'll check IMDb.
Because he was.
Because I gotta admit, I kind of like that kid. Cause
he was good.
And I was actually, I hate to say this, but I had mic envy because he had this great big huge boom mic that he runs around and he records everything on, and his mic is a lot bigger than mine. So I'll give that up to the kid.
And Ray recognizes his podcast. He's like, "You're my subscriber."
That was a nice. That actually got a chuckle out of me because that was. Look at how few subscribers we have to our podcasts and stuff. But anyway, so there's. He's got all of 3 credits and 2 of them are interviews. But anyway, he was on the home movie The Princess Bride. That was the little thing where they were trying to remake it for Cubit or whatever it was called. Anyway. So anyway, I like you, Logan Kim. It was nice to see Ernie Hudson getting to work again, and a black sheriff, because that's what the black chick was his daughter and all this other stuff. So you had all this representation, and guess what? It didn't matter. They were focused on the story, not about their identities, not about the color of their skin, not about their background, certainly not about their sexuality. All that stuff is so played out. This is the film, and if you are tired of identity politics as we are, if you get out and support this film, you can show them there's room for diversity without hammering it over your head. So this is done right. And it is nice to see Annie Potts getting to work again, because she is from Lexington, I believe. Isn't she? I don't think she's from... Anyway. So anyway, it's nice to see the Reitmans getting involved in stuff. She was born in Nashville, but I think she was raised in Lexington. So anyway, yeah, Answer the Call was 2016. But anyway. Back to it. What was I talking about? What was I saying?
Diversity.
I've made my points on the diversity and representation and stuff, so let's just go ahead and get that out of the way. I do want to talk about something else, though, because with... I talk about how much Bill Murray sucks, so I'm just going to leave it at that. Sony. We need to talk about Sony and Columbia Pictures, okay? I'm not going to go through their entire movie release lineup, okay? But I believe that Columbia owns Screen Gems, which is the horror. They're now basically a horror studio. They do, I think, Blumhouse and a bunch of other stuff. Sony has been on a little bit of a tear of late. Out of all the Hollywood studios, look at the ones that generate the buzz, okay? Yeah, Disney got a little buzz with The Mandalorian. What other properties can you think of that Disney has released over the last couple of years that have generated a lot of buzz outside of The Mandalorian? Certainly nothing Marvel related or anything else Star Wars related. Nothing Pixar related has really took off.
Nothing.
And Sony's got what? All these Spider-Man movies. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which was, for me, the top movie of the year.
Definitely.
You've got this one coming out. You have a new Spider-Man coming out. Morbius, which I'm honestly starting to actually get tempted into seeing, because it actually looks like this might be interesting, because Morbius actually is an offshoot of Spider-Man. Sony has the rights to all the Spider stuff, so that's why Marvel's so desperate to get a little taste of that, because Spider-Man's making huge bank. Even with Amy Pascal shedding tears over it. But still, they've been hitting it out of the park. They did pretty well with Venom 2. They're doing pretty well with Ghostbusters Afterlife. Another Spider-Man movie on the horizon. They have a bunch of other stuff coming up. So, I gotta admit, Sony is kind of impressing me on this. So, Eh, but like I said, compared to the rest of Hollywood, especially when it comes Sony. All right, let's go back to representation real quick. Let's go back to Into the Spider-Verse. Miles Morales was Latino and black, and you had a white girl Spider-Man. You had a black and white Spider-Man. You had an out-of-shape Spider-Man. You had a Spider-Ham. You had all kinds of representation in that movie, too. And because they focused on the characters and the story and not the way these characters looked, well, except for getting stuck in Gwen's hair. But anyway, his web fluid was
Oh,
kind of...
okay,
anyway,
okay.
yeah. So anyway, but Sony, I don't know if it's the Japanese influence. I don't know if it's the leadership over there or what's going on, but they are doing a better job in making it more subtle instead of clobbering you over the head with the diversity stuff, which is fine with me. Like, as I've been saying, for how long we've been doing this? 3 years? 3 years we've been doing this show, right? Pretty close. I'll have to look and see, but we've been doing this show for a while, and I keep saying, do the story, it's the story. Tell a good story, it's the story, stupid. It's always the story. Focus on the story, and you tell a good story with good characters. And you don't make good characters when you're too busy trying to make points.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's all my ranting to do on this one. Chris, you got anything else you want to say about Ghostbusters before we wrap this up? Good question.
First of all, if you're planning on going to go see this movie, please have some type of knowledge about Ghostbusters. If you're taking somebody to see the movie, make sure that they have at least seen the first two films. Just because this really does hit you hard when certain scenes in the movie, because I mean, if you're a big fan, then yeah, it's gonna grab your childhood and be like, we're back, you know. Also, my criticism on this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Listen, I have a huge soft spot for Ghostbusters 2. And the only reason why people don't like Ghostbusters 2 is because they say that it's just like the first one, just redone. Hello, this one does the exact same thing that the first one did, but it seems to be better. So it's like, why don't you like 2? I love 2. I'm sorry, I love both of them and this new one. But
2. Well, 2 was all right, but it wasn't as good as 1. Here's part of the problem.
Sure.
Too. Okay, well, before we wrap this, let me make one more point. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, you had what was called SNL syndrome in Hollywood. Okay, I don't know if you've heard of this or not. SNL syndrome is where the not ready for primetime players started getting featured roles in Hollywood movies.
Caddyshack, Beverly Hills.
Yes, it was SNL and National Lampoon. Those were the two humor franchises that took over Hollywood. And with National Lampoon, it was mainly Doug Kenny, their lead writer and chief muckety muck over there. But he was the one who came up with Caddyshack and Animal House and all this other stuff. Animal House, where they crossed the streams and brought John Belushi in with a National Lampoon project and just made cajillions of dollars off of it. But anyway, into the 80s, you had all these SNL alumni who were making movies and just could do, I'm not going to say they all came out well, but it seemed like they could do no wrong, because you had, let's see if I can name some, I just named Animal House, the Blues Brothers was part of that, you had Beverly Hills Cop was huge on that, and of course Ghostbusters in '84. But all of these films had a certain sarcastic quality to it. They focused on telling a story, cramming as many jokes in as they can, and being snide about it. Bill Murray is the worst offender when it comes to the snide delivery of humor. Okay, Dan Aykroyd can get snide when he wants to. Anybody who's ever seen Bass-O-Matic can tell you that. And so John Belushi could get snide sometimes, especially if he saw somebody playing a guitar on a staircase. But nobody does snide like Bill Murray. Bill Murray has that kind of face where when he got, spoilers, he got his head blown off in Zombieland. That was the one redeeming thing I loved most about that movie, was seeing Bill Murray get shot. Boy, that did my heart good. But anyway, yeah, you're welcome. That's the difference between, now the first one was snide, the second one was almost as snide, but you can tell they were just cashing in on that one, because, oh my goodness, there were brand placements everywhere. And Answer the Call, let's not even go into that one.
The second one, there's just so many parts I love, like I love the Vigo character, I love the little dude that could hardly speak English, but he swore he was up from the Upper West Side.
Yeah.
I love the Winston got more screen time.
Mm-hmm.
You had the part where the ooze was underneath the streets and it was coming up and grabbing them.
Uh-huh.
And, you know, like, there's so many parts in that I'm just like, you know, this is good. And the Statue of Liberty part I love. But here's the thing. This is the reason why Ghostbusters stands out between, or why it is such a classic and just a breakout type of movie,
Mm-hmm.
is because, yeah, this is a comedy, but it was a different comedy. Because this was literally the first time where they took horror and comedy and splashed it together.
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't know what was going to happen. Usually comedy like, you know, Blues Brothers, National Lampoon movies, you know, you had all those films, but you're actually going to see a movie where there was some ghost that was literally going like, whoa, you know, he made you jump in your seat while humor is being followed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this is amazing. Like, this is truly amazing. So, yeah, that's why Ghostbusters is what it is because the humor is not over the top humor, but it's, like you said, snarkiness and, you know, just...
Well, the thing about Afterlife is that Afterlife is humor with a heart. Okay?
Yes.
This is more of a heartwarming film than the rest of the franchise put together. You know, if you have kids, you're going to get your heartstrings plucked by Afterlife, which is something the first three movies never did because they were too busy being snide and smart to really pay attention to that. As you said, Winston actually got more in the second film than he did in the first because he is basically an afterthought in the first one, and they actually address it in Afterlife too towards the end of it. But yeah, that was something that stood out to me too, was that this, you could tell, was not done. I mean, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, Bill Murray, they were all involved with this, but you could tell Dan Aykroyd probably had more creative sway in this than anybody else because he's always been the guy behind the scenes helping push things along. And let's face it, if it wasn't for Dan Aykroyd, this probably wouldn't have been made.
Yeah.
Okay, because he was the one who was pushing after Answer the Call to get another one done. But when it comes to the humor, I prefer the one in Afterlife. You liked 2, you liked 1, and let's face it, nobody liked Answer the Call. No, I'm not even going to say that. There's got to be a few people out there who like to Answer the Call. But
Answer the Call, the humor in that, the reason why also that I was so disconnected from that movie was the humor did not match the tone, the Ghostbuster tone.
Yeah.
Okay? The humor in the 2016 movie was the type of humor that you would put in movies like Dumb and Dumber.
Hmm.
Dumb and Dumber, their comedy, you know these guys are, you know, special. You know, you know that they're going to do stupid things that makes you go, oh man, or cringe so hard. Ghostbusters did not have that. They just had snarkiness, you know?
Mm-hmm.
2016 Ghostbusters was just plain stupid. Like the whole scene where Chris Hemsworth was like, there's a phone in the fish tank, so he's trying to grab it. You know, it's like, are you really that stupid? Like this does not belong. Like this type of humor does not belong.
One of these things does not like the other. Anyway.
So it's just like horrible. So yeah, like I'm so. It was just so darn horrible on that. So, but yeah, I mean, the rest of the Ghostbuster franchises, even though yeah, I do love the second one, I have this just that part of me where it's like, yeah, we got to see this happen, we got to see that happen, got to see the Statue of Liberty walk through the city of New York, got to see Rick Moranis do more, got to see Winston do more, got to see, you know, a different type of evil, and all still going like, whoa. So that's, I mean, that's just my thoughts. But then again, to me, Afterlife is literally the best third film of the franchise. Some people will put it as second, forget about second. That's fine. But to me, there's 1, 2, and then there's Afterlife, which is 3.
Well, you know my opinion. I would say this. This is in that most rarefied of sequel air.
Yeah.
Of the sequel that's better than the original.
Yeah.
Okay? Because, let's face it, Empire Strikes Back was better than Star Wars.
Ugh.
A New Hope, okay? The Godfather Part 2 was better than The Godfather. It was real close. But The Godfather Part 2 was a little bit better than The Godfather, if you ask me. Toy Story 3 was better than Toy Story. Okay? Toy Story 2, you could argue, but I'd say 3 was better than both of them. And this, I think, is better than the original.
Well, that's fine.
So
I mean,
that's me. And I'm not going to sit here and fuss and fume because somebody disagrees with me, because, you know what I say, opinions like buttholes. Everybody has one, they all stink because they're all full of crap, including mine. And I'll be the first to admit it. I have no problem with admitting I'm full of crap.
This movie is not bad at all,
This
so
movie
I cannot say that
this
you know,
movie
this
is
movie
the one
amazing.
That rare one. I have not been as... I was actually smiling through this movie because I could see all the effort they were putting into it and all the little touches. This is the first time I've really, really enjoyed a movie since Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, yeah.
So for me, Hollywood has been asleep since that movie until this one.
Yes. I will say that I cannot wait to watch this movie again, which I will, especially when my my head stuffiness has gone away, so I can actually sit there and really, really enjoy the film.
So you can actually smell again and talk again and breathe again.
But yeah, I mean, this movie is amazing. Is there things I would change about it? Yes. And those things, I mean, honestly, I still think that the original Ghostbusters should have came in a little bit early. But I thought, there's a scene where they're first shown, and that's like, again, 40 some odd minutes into the film, where the girl calls Ray. And then I wish the conversation would have went a little bit longer to where she was like, you know, we need your help. This is, you know, there's stuff happening in our town. And then he goes and calls the other guys, and we get to see what they're up to, you know. And then they'll be like, all right, let's suit up. And then we'll go back to the original, you know, what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
I would have loved that. I would also have loved that when the credits are going up, that it would have shown what they're doing now. Like, let's say a news article saying, Ghostbusters are back. Or, you know, something like that. Them doing interviews or Hooray and podcast doing a podcast.
Honestly,
something like that. I would have loved that.
I mean, Columbia started a unit called Ghost Corps. You saw that at the beginning of this movie. And Ghost Corps is a dedicated unit to rebuilding the Ghostbusters franchise. Now they did answer the call, and everybody's like, ugh, on that one.
Yeah.
But hey, they did their thing. This is a different take. I honestly think, and I think I've said this before, talking about franchising the franchise, where you will have different Ghostbusters movies that will take different takes on it.
Yeah.
Because can let me give you this one. Let me give you this idea, Chris.
Go for it.
You have, I mean, we already know Ernie Hudson. Spoilers at the end of this movie. We now know he's really rich. He's been and he's investing into the Ghostbusters thing.
I know where you're going with this.
What if we start getting films by different filmmakers that look at different ways of handling the Ghostbusters franchise? Some straight up horror, some straight up comedy, some maybe a romance or an animated concept. Bring back the real Ghostbusters. That would be hilarious. Or what about this? What if we were to get a version of the Ghostbusters set in, say, the Midwest, let's say Indianapolis or something like that, and you get a business manager played by Bruce Campbell, who's in charge of training all the Ghostbusters and stuff, and have it directed by Sam Raimi.
I knew you was going to go there.
Yeah.
As soon as I heard Bruce Campbell, I'm like, Sam
Yep.
Raimi.
So wouldn't that be fun to see a Ghostbusters
That would
film
be.
by Sam Raimi?
That would be fun to, like, we already know that there is, and if you don't know this, you need to check it out. But in every state, there is literally a Ghostbuster, what do you call them? Don't want to call them cosplayers, but they call themselves something, but they're like literally legit. They have like a car that looks like
units.
the car. Yeah. And they're in every state, literally. There's a huge, gigantic group. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool if they, added them into the group and they all got real proton packs and they're fighting ghosts in their areas and stuff? All because Winston started the whole thing. And for the fourth film, what if they're all back, and I can see it now, Ray's underneath the hood of the Ecto-1. The granddaughter, she's all suited up. Winston and Peter are like, I don't know, doing something. Just all in the, the firehouse again.
Yeah,
I think that would be awesome.
that would be nice.
It'd be awesome, yes.
But anyway, so let's wrap this because we've managed to go almost 50 minutes just on Ghostbusters. But we'll wrap up here because looking down the line here, this is probably going to be the number one movie for a while. You got the next one I could see that would be a threat would be West Side Story on December 3rd. And then coming up December 17th is Spider-Man No Way Home. This will probably be the popular movie right up for about probably the next 3 weeks until the new Spider-Man movie comes out.
It's going to break box office records because of the fact that, hey, it's Thanksgiving week.
Yeah, what else you gonna do?
Exactly. People are going to go. So yeah, it's nice. I'm all for it.
I honestly don't know, and this is coming out of nowhere, but the Matrix Resurrections on Christmas Eve, I don't know if that's going to be any good or not. But
People will watch it because of the fact that it is the Matrix, and there is a lot of Matrix fans out there. I, for one, I've seen all three, but I don't care about those movies anymore. Like, I watched the first one and I watched all three, but the first one I liked better. The rest of them just like, eh. Especially the third one. The third one had a 20-minute fight scene with really horrible CGI.
well, they were working with what they had back then.
Yeah, but you can tell the big difference between the first film special effects and the third.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, huh?
But on the other hand, they also did introduce a lot of concepts in that first film. But we'll see what the Matrix Resurrections.
The Matrix for me is. Let me tell you how I feel about this. All right, you have the red pill and the blue pill. Okay, I can't remember which one actually took you to the reality, but honestly, if that's reality, I'd rather stay in the fake world. The whole fact that reality is you live in a place where it's all clunky metal, you got robots trying to kill you, a dude that can literally make many of themselves and appear as anybody, and you got a big thing stuck in the back of your head. Yeah, no, thank you. I'd rather stay asleep. Bye. Like, forget about it. Nope, I'm out.
The red pill wakes you up. But but yeah, I can understand that. We're not even going to get into the political parts of it because, like I said, we need to wrap it. We're not 50 minutes. We got to get out of here. And you were worried about how much you'd be able to talk today because you're a honker. But...
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got any famous last words for this, Chris?
Go watch Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Hey, we actually agree. We actually agree. Ghostbusters Afterlife is absolutely worth it. So we'll see you all next time. I'm Spike.
I'm Chris.
This was the show. We'll see you next week for the chore duty. And in 2 weeks for, could it be the return? Because some things you can go back again in 2 weeks.
Oh.
In 2 weeks. An early Christmas present for everybody. The return.
I can breathe. I can breathe.
That's all that horse crap I was dishing out. Unfortunately, now you can breathe. We'll see you. We'll see you next time, y'all. Take care. Talk.
See ya.